This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello, this is Fake the Nation, where we talk about news, we talk about culture, and where we announce that I, your host Negin Farsad, have finally seen Dune 2. And I'm not saying I'm a full Dune head, but I did Google to see how many books there are, and there are 23. And I'm not saying I'm gonna read 23 books, but I'm also not saying that I'm not gonna read any, okay? This may lessen my standing with some listeners, which I totally understand, because gross, you know what I mean, to become that person. Today, we're going to talk about the giant sandworm that is the Trump campaign. We'll also talk about the kerfuffle at NBC. We'll talk about the yapping trend on TikTok, the decline in vanilla chocolate chip ice cream, which is like, I think, the headline for everything. And we'll talk about whether having children ruined Lily Allen's career and or any other woman's career. Just a small little topic. All right, and I'm so excited by today's panel. Oh my God. So for the very first time, I am joined by the journalist, the author. She's co-host of the podcast In Retrospect. We have literally talked about her pieces on this show in recent memory. She did a piece called The Audacity of E. Jean Carroll, which we referenced in this very show because she's already has been smart before coming on here. And this is just, we get to now bask in it. It is the incredible Jessica Bennett. Hey, Jessica.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We theoretically also have with us joining on the show comedian and host of Stand Up with Pete Dominic, a daily podcast, which you should absolutely be subscribing to, Pete Dominic. He is not gonna say hello because he dropped out of the Zoom for some reason. But let us continue. Before we get into the show, I just want to remind listeners that you can go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad to get excellent bonuses of the show for as little as $4 a month. There's a lot of episodes going around, guys. In the Patreon, it's super fun. It's where we let our hair down. It's where we get extra ridiculous. So go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad to support the show. And now let's get into it with topic number one. For some reason, the term yapping and its variants yap and yapper have become popular on TikTok, and you might remember hearing such terms in episodes of I Love Lucy, where maybe a character said, quit your yapping or whatever, right? It's an old-timey term. It's quaint. And it's back. My question now is, okay, so the word itself simply means just to talk a lot. But in this current internet context, one influencer describes it as, quote, somebody that talks too much or is an oversharer, somebody that just keeps on talking to fill the air. If it gets quiet, they just don't stop talking. Now, my question to you, Jessica, is like, why is this a trend now?
Because
Explain TikTok to me.
Because everything is a fake trend on TikTok, including a thing that we are doing here on this podcast, even yapping, and have probably been doing for some time. I mean, like, I use the word yapping occasionally. I certainly know those people who can't sit with the silence. My job as a journalist is kind of to listen to people yap to me, and then say things that they regret. So this is a fake trend, but like, respect, I guess, to the Gen Z TikTokers who are discovering it. I don't know. Also, everyone thinks that they have a right to yap now because we've told everyone that their opinions are important.
That's right. And we have, and then I've long held that they're not important. I mean, say, as someone who spews opinions all day long, my opinion is not important. And I've been yapping on these very channels since 2016. I've been yapping. We just celebrated our 400th episode.
Oh my gosh, congrats.
Thank you so much. How much of this vocal cord have I lost to this project? But one aspect of this that I think is really bizarre is the idea that people are, I think they're discovering this term because they're yapping into void of their phone. I'm holding up the phone as a prop for listeners. The void of their phone. They are and then they're trying to fill the air literally because there's no one else responding to them. And they discovered someone Googled synonym for talking a lot, and then they discovered the word yapping. So now they're like, oh, cute, I'm going to use this word.
Right. Yapping.
Hashtag yapping, which is just like the internet has encouraged nonstop talking for no ends. Now we're suddenly joined by Pete Dominic, who has a daily podcast in which he engages in yapping. Pete, can you explain why this is a trend right now? He can't. No.
He cannot.
Well, he's muted.
Cannot yap.
He's muted right now. Okay.
I can explain anything, all of it.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Explain it.
Well, I want to let Jessica explain it because I just joined you because I had all these technical issues and I don't even know where we're at. And I tried to improv something like, well, you gotta understand some of these issues around. I have COVID.
About why Pete? Okay, so first of all, Pete has had the worst internet computer. His computer just died, literally, 3 minutes ago. And on top of that, right before his computer died, the test strip came back positive for COVID for the first time in his life. So he's the last man on earth to get this fucking virus. Congratulations.
Right. I thought I was better than everybody.
No. Yeah, I know. That's going to be tough to cope with.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
I know you're just You're just a normal fucking guy. You're just Ken. You know what I mean? And you know what? You're enough. So Pete, we were talking about yapping, but why don't we? Listeners, I don't know why this is. It seems ridiculous that this is trending. Pete, you yap all the time. It's a trending phenomenon on TikTok. Why don't you wrap out this segment and let us know why is yapping trending?
I think it's because you're constantly trying to make something new happen and trend. And I think it's because even the most annoying things are fascinating to people for any number of reasons. All of these things that make us feel good just to watch or to hear, they make our senses feel good. And I think this is just another example of it. We've run out of, just when you think you've run out of terrible new ideas, someone comes up with yapping, and so here we are. And
just go back to old terrible ideas.
Yeah,
yapping is like bringing back, Ghostbusters for another sequel.
Yeah.
Everything is just old IP that we're resurrecting.
It is.
Yeah. The cast of I Love Lucy is like, we did that already. Okay.
Right.
Now I want to go on to a more serious topic, which is the decline in the sale of vanilla chocolate chip ice cream. I was riveted by this article. The top 2 sellers now of ice cream flavors, and I don't know, I was just surprised by this, are cookies and cream and chocolate chip cookie dough. Pete, were you surprised by the decline in the sale of vanilla chocolate chip, which used to be a monster in the field?
I'm surprised when in America anything that's vanilla is losing. I mean, we are losing our country. We're being replaced by a potpourri of an invasion, if you will, a caravan of cream, a caravan of cream that is replacing vanilla, and it's just so it will vote for Democrats.
It's really, I mean, if you want to talk about demographic shift, like cookies and cream is notable for the one color that is not white within it. You know what I mean? Chocolate chip cookie dough is brown. Right? Jessica, were you ever, I mean, I have to be honest with the American people right now in that this podcast is the #1 most heard podcast in the entire universe. I have to be honest, I was never a vanilla chocolate chip person.
I didn't even know that people ate that. Like,
it used to be huge.
What? Okay, and so where's vanilla ranking now? Like, maybe we're just purists. We don't want to like mix.
Well, vanilla dipped to 6 to 4%. And the volume of cookies and cream rose to 72.6%. So it looks like we're around 22% for vanilla chocolate chip. It used to be flipped. Vanilla in general used to be flipped. It was like the number one.
Can I be really, I mean, I'm being very vulnerable, I'm COVID positive, apparently white supremacist. But I this is hard to say. And it's like when I meet new people, I try not to tell them, but I don't eat or really like ice cream.
I don't even know what to do with that.
I'm lactose intolerant, so like I don't.
Wow, two fucking heretics on this show.
Yeah. Like sorbet, whatever. Froyo.
Wow. Okay. All right. By the way, this is not going to be interesting to you guys, but I just was recalling, going through a little of my memory bank of ice cream flavors. Rum raisin used to be the ice cream flavor du jour for the same people who used to use the word yapping originally.
I was going to say, yes, I think those things are related.
Yeah. And anyone who said yapping, their favorite fucking ice cream flavor was also rum raisin.
Yep.
And now rum raisin is basically no more. I mean, why would you? Raisin in an ice cream also. That's fucking
flavor.
ridiculous.
Apparently nobody has black friends here. Got it. Loud and clear.
All right, folks. I mean, let me know, what do you think about this incredible decline? This was written about, okay, in the New York Times. Okay, so as ridiculous as a topic as it was, it is a real phenomenon, and I found it fascinating and a true sign of the times. That and the yapping trend, which is another sign of the times, which is that we cannot create anything new, and it's so sad. All right, folks, let's take a quick break so we can hear from our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll get into another topic. And we are back, and we're ready for topic number 2. Republicans are having a crazy week because Speaker Mike Johnson might be ousted because, like Kevin McCarthy before him, he's daring to keep the government open, and the GOP hates that. Well, we weren't really going to talk about this because it's like still in flux, but I do want to throw to you guys to see if you have any thoughts on this fun situation with Mike Johnson, because the latest little development is the Democrats might actually work to save his job because he can actually get things passed by leaning on Democrats and not his own party. Pete, what did you think about this?
I am fascinated by this and have been for years. I'm going to give you a very serious answer. I don't write well, but I did write an article years ago for the Daily Beast. I don't want to brag, Jessica, but I wrote one. But it was about the what has been happening for over a decade in the Republican Party, probably more. And it's real simple. Republicans in Congress at every level of government, even in the state government, but especially in the U.S. Congress and especially in the House, are absolutely led by right-wing media influencers. And when you go on Fox News or you're on any podcast or YouTube channel, you can scream, for example, you have to repeal Obamacare. But if you don't have the votes, you can't get it done. And so it's empty. A constant, it's always for right-wing radio. The whole thing is for right-wing radio. There's nothing like that on the left, nothing like that with Democrats. They can't do anything. They can't govern. They pass no legislation because people screaming into microphones will not let them, A, and B, they just don't have the votes to do these things that are frankly very unpopular, which is why the courts have to remove women's reproductive rights and voting rights, because those things generally won't get through. Once you get it right, very hard to take it. That's why Republicans can't take it, but they have to answer to Tucker Carlson, et cetera. That's it. Sorry.
Jessica, what do you think?
Honestly, I've been distracted by all of the Trump mania in court. I mean, you mentioned the courts. We leave it to the courts to make decisions now. Well, Trump was back in court on Monday on not just one, but 2 cases. And there are so many court cases against him that I'm essentially refreshing my feed constantly to see what the latest update is. The latest one being a gag order on the Stormy Daniels case because he's going to, shoot his mouth off. But also Trump's money. Can we talk about Trump's money? Because the other thing that happened this week was the amount that he was asked to put up a bond for in his fraud case. which had been $475 million, which he obviously could not get, despite going to many lenders. And even with the merger of his Truth Social platform, has now been reduced to $175 million. So maybe he can actually, I don't know, scrounge up those funds.
Yeah, I think it's he sort of was like, oh, I can handle 175 million or whatever. Right. And I just want a couple of favorite details about the merger. So the reason why Truth Social now is worth something is because it merged with a shell company of unclear ownership or whatever, like where the and that inflated the valuation of Truth Social. The fun thing about the valuation of Truth Social, like before this merger, was that I don't know what this might mean to you, but just I'm not a businessman, but I will say it lost $50 million last year. So that's where it was. Okay. But it's now, because of this merger, suddenly worth billions, which is hilarious. And look, this is not the first internet company to be overvalued, right? Like, we love to do this with internet companies. It's just like, oh, you have a thing and you click on it, billions of dollars you are worth, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, guys, it really isn't. But anyways, but obviously Truth Social was never as big as even any of these other things that we use. So it's extra hilarious. And the other little fun detail is they're, trading on the stock market under what are those called? Symbol DJT. And the last time that was traded was, I think, in the 90s, where the only reason it stopped being traded, DJT, which at the time was for all of Trump's casinos and resorts, was because it went bankrupt. So they resurrected a symbol whose original claim to fame was bankruptcy.
It's unbelievable.
Amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Just some fun details that I love. So Trump has had a crazy week. I guess my question for you, Pete, is like Jessica mentioned, so he had 2 court cases. One is going to trial on April 15th.
Yeah.
He was, like Jessica mentioned, he was given a gag order. He had all the shenanigans with money. He's going to pay the $175 million, which is for the E. Jean Carroll case, right? Yeah.
Maybe.
No, the different case. He has the Eugene Carroll's $95 million. It's really hard to keep track. Honestly,
oh my God, you're right. The 175 is for lying. The 100, right? We do need a chart. The 175 is for lying about the valuation of inflating his self, his net worth, and all that, and the value of his properties and whatever. In the state of New York, Pete, does any of this, like, you live in America, a part of America. I also live in a part of America, for the record. Do you see any of this like putting a chink in the armor?
I do, because I'm a ridiculous optimist. Like I always think things are going to work out. I had a good life. I don't know. I can't quite explain the psychoanalysis of it, but I think that once the verdicts come in, especially in the criminal trials, I think once the January 6th trial, the federal case led by the special prosecutor Jack Smith, gets underway, and we're all reliving January 6th, I think people are going to absolutely think a little bit more about voting for Donald Trump. It's easy to make the argument that he's become more popular, but one might argue that he's become more popular with the same people. I don't think he's won anybody over with all these court cases. And when you hear a narrative where, certain demographics like him, Hispanic folks or black men or something, because he's, the bullshit that he says, because he's been indicted like them or whatever. Like, I'm sure there's some loud person yelling in a microphone and then this narrative gets picked up. But I don't really think that that's any kind of critical mass of people. I think the vast majority of people will start paying attention the closer you get to the election. And they don't reload their feeds like Jessica and I and you all the time. And I think that when they see a lot of this stuff being, coming out, especially even about the Stormy Daniels case and everything else, I don't think it's going to help him. And I think people are realizing he actually is he doesn't have money. He never had that much money. And I think people are realizing that. And so that is the chink in the armor to some extent, is that it's not gold. It's something else, painted gold.
Last night I was watching, was a real accident, but I was watching Gutfeld on the Fox News channel.
Yeah, baby.
It happens to me sometimes when I'm in hotel rooms where I'm flipping
I got my
the
start
channel
on this show
on
on
gigs. What? Did you really?
Yeah, I used to know him really, really well. Ask me anything. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I interrupted you. I'm Sorry.
No. I mean, and this is so. I just was like, oh, Gutfeld. I wonder what they're saying and what they're going to talk about. They did talk about this $175 million, and the way that they've spun it is that that Trump said something like that. It's an honor to pay it, and they thought that was such a baller thing to say.
Oh, that's
how that's being spun. That it's like, what? That's not a big deal at all. I'm happy to pay that, but it's like, but shouldn't you have also then been happy to pay 400 something million? It's like you didn't have it. That's why you weren't happy to pay it. You know,
how do the rest of us relate to that in our lives? What fine or thing are you happy that you paid for? Even a thing that you purchased that you really wanted, like what? How is that?
I know it was it was very interesting to hear. I've said this on the show before, but I really feel like the country would be better off if conservatives had a better source of comedy in their lives. And I feel like that show is not doing that. You know, it's very hard. I think I was like watching these people, and most of them aren't comedians, or sort of like just fun people, have a really hard time like coming up with ways to make this all make this funny with a conservative angle. So anyways, Jessica, do you think, so you're hitting refresh all the time. Do you feel like if you're a Trump supporter, they are following the ins and outs of this case, or is it background noise?
I mean, I think we can barely follow the ins and outs of this case. I mean, whatever. It's all depressing, but I don't know that people care. I think like it matters because it shows that he's not above the law, and because what does Donald Trump care about? He cares about money. And so this is like the hardest you can hit him, or the place that you can hit him that really counts. And it drives him crazy. And if you listen to him on Truth Social, which I don't typically, but had to for a piece I was writing this week, like it is incessant. He is so mad about all of this. And so from my perspective, that's sort of satisfying to watch. And speaking of comedy, like it's actually quite comical. Like the way that he talks about Tish James, who is the attorney general in New York, who is going after him for his money. And if he doesn't put up this bond, she could begin seizing his properties. Like the nickname, I mean, we all know the nicknames that he's come up with. Stormy Horseface Daniels, like Tish James, he's talking about her grimy little hands. Like it's kind of hilarious the way that he does this, but he's mad. And that is satisfying to watch and hear about, even if voters don't ultimately give a shit. And sorry, that's my dog barking.
I also think, just to add one quick thing to that about the money, he can act like he doesn't care about the money. But I think one thing that's also satisfying is that that money's not going to be there for his family. I mean, Ivanka will be fine, but like, Don and the rest of them.
Well, I'm sure they all have like some amount in offshore accounts that are untouchable.
But when you're that rich, the only thing you care about is the actual number. And that they're not going to be able to talk about that because they're all sick people. That money is when he says, "Oh, I'm proud to pay the fine." I think Eric's like, "Ooh, Dad."
Right. Well, I have no skills.
Sir. He doesn't call him Dad. Sir.
Like, Trump's bank account, like the size of Trump's bank account, he equates with like the size of his junk. Yeah. So I do feel that in some way, I mean, I guess so. I wouldn't know, but in some way, like this is hitting to the core of him. Like he does not like this. And I think that voters, they might not be able to follow all of this stuff. It might be beside the point, but like knowing that he exaggerated the size is a little bit humiliating, and maybe they'll think a little less of him. Will it actually matter? I mean, I don't know. That's the thing about all of this that we will remain to see.
Yeah, unclear. We'll see. The other fun thing is that if the trial does in fact start on April 15th, he's actually supposed to be in that room,
for 6 weeks.
So like, which is a really critical time in the election. I mean, that's what happens,
so
right?
Yeah, he's putting his whole schedule. He's planning his whole schedule around being in court, and like his campaign schedule. It's gonna happen on Wednesdays when court's in recess, and then like do it on the weekends. So yes.
But Jessica, he doesn't have to be. He's doing that because he thinks it works. He's not mandated to be in the room.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
I believe, right? Am I wrong?
I
don't think he has to show up for all of it.
No, I think he likes to play the martyr. That helps him. It absolutely helps.
The footage.
I don't think he needs to go out and campaign. Like, nobody needs to see him. You know, he campaigns to make money off the rallies, and when he doesn't sell enough tickets, he just doesn't go to that town. Like the rest of us. Ha ha. Sorry.
All right, and then really quickly, I just wanted to mention we were going to talk about the NBC kerfuffle because Ronna McDaniel was offered a consultancy at NBC. A lot of the people at NBC kind of, you know, this whole thing backfired because they were like, well, she was, you know, funding the January 6th insurrectionists, and she called the elections of 2020 like a hoax or whatever for a long time. Jessica, you're in the news business. Were you surprised by and ultimately NBC decided not to hire her? This just happened this morning as we were coming into studio. So Jessica, were you surprised by the journalists at NBC for like taking that stand? I mean, it's not like it's the first time a Republican has joined their ranks.
I think that in this time and in this election, and after years and years of this woman like basically gaslighting and lying on the air, like to have someone, I read that she was getting paid $300,000 a year, and this is happening as like massive cuts and layoffs are going on. Like, I absolutely would have been one of those journalists being like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like, A, we're supposed to be independent. B, this is like such a bad look. People are getting laid off left and right, and like you're suddenly finding money for this woman. And C, she's not even good.
I was at
that's like, I think probably the headline. So she's not even good.
I was at Sirius XM when they wanted to hire Steve Bannon back after he had left Sirius XM to go work at the White House, and I went both on TV with a couple of other on-air hosts from the Progressive Channel and privately to the executives, telling them they couldn't do this. I pressured them privately, I pressured them publicly, and it absolutely probably contributed to them not renewing my contract. I mean, it damaged my relationship with them, and I lost a ton of money and the greatest job in the world. It was, but I would.
But good for you, though.
I would do it again and again. There's at some point in your life and in your career, you have to be able to look in the mirror. And you know, there was a time in corporate media, at least, and certainly newspapers, where certain views would never be presented in terms of we would hire an overt white supremacist, or we would hire someone who denied the moon landing. And all corporate media and any respectable media company has to have a threshold of not doing things like that. But also, they do have to have a threshold, a line where you say we will not hire or even entertain election deniers. You can't come on and do that, much less pay someone. So she's an election denier. She helped it usher through that. And the idea that anybody thought that was going to be a good idea, I applaud Chuck Todd, which I never thought I'd say, and everybody else on air and off air who did the right thing. It's crazy that they hired an election denier. They won't even have them on their air. And and then all of a sudden they hire one. It was just, they put Kirsten Welker in such a terrible situation. It was, you have to have a threshold.
I know, it just seems really poorly thought through.
Poorly thought through. That was a very diplomatic way of saying it. Yeah. All right, well, let us move on.
You guys got to listen to Jessica's new podcast. It's called Understatements with Jessica Bennett.
Look, I've been trained for so long to not have opinions.
Yeah.
That that's how I speak.
All right, folks, let's move on to topic number 3. The pop star Lily Allen said in an interview recently that, quote, "My children ruined my career. I mean, I love them and they complete me, but in terms of pop stardom, totally ruined it." Now, she said more than that, but like the rest of the internet, let's fixate on that one statement first. Is she right, Jessica? Do you have kids, Jessica?
I don't. Okay. I just have a loud dog barking in the background who won't stop. I'm very sorry. But, you know, I'm just like so sick of this headline. Like, I feel like this headline comes up every 6 months with like a different woman, or it's like a question about can you have it all or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it explodes onto every site. And I just would like to see a man say that their kids run their career, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Be a nice change. That's the change we're looking for. Yeah.
Right?
Here I am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Tell us.
Give me the floor, please. My kids destroyed my career in so many ways. And I couldn't be happier about it, because you have to choose at some point. I don't think you can have it all. You can find a work-life balance. But what drives you at the end of your life. Who wants to say that they worked more? If you truly love your kids, I knew that I could either be a great stand-up comedian or a great father. I knew I couldn't be both because stand-up is on the weekends. It's every weekend. You have to work. And parenting is also on the weekends. That's when they're not in school, for example. That's when all of their games and recitals and all of their events are. And so who do you want to be is a really important question. You can have a good career and you can be a great parent, but you can't be gone all the time. You can't be gone all the time, or you can't be a good parent. You can be a present parent that makes a lot of mistakes, but that's called being a good parent. And I just, it doesn't have to be a binary, but increasingly, I think men are starting to realize this. It's starting to happen, certainly with a lot of my friends, and it has always been the case with me. I would never, I didn't miss almost one thing of my girls' lives, and I missed out on a lot on my career, and I couldn't be more proud of that. Like, I'm completely fine with it. Like, who do you want to be? It's just ego and money, but like, what do you need? I have an above ground pool. Did you know I have an above ground pool? A raised ranch house. I have a 2010 Chevy Volt.
Man, that battery life on that Chevy Volt must be fucking, you're plugging in all the time.
I do have to stop it with my actual feet now, like Fred Flintstone. It's old.
So I like Pete. I'm a stand-up comedian and also a filmmaker and a writer and all that crap and a podcaster, as you know. And I also, like Lily Allen, believe that my child ruined my career. And that, like, okay, so she ruined it to some measure. And also the thing is, the other thing with careers and with children is that they come in cycles. So like your kids need you so much from like 0 to 5.
Yep.
I'm hoping it starts to abate, but I don't know. That's how old my kid is. She still needs me so much.
Exactly what you're saying. I'm sorry to interrupt, but my daughter, I just have to say, is getting her driver's license today, we hope. Meaning,
it's a big day for you.
Yep, yeah, COVID, driver's license, internet doesn't work. But the bottom line is, like, it's that threshold that you're saying. This is today I'm not in the car with her, which is time that I got to be with her. And I'm, it does abate and it does change. But also, your kids should motivate your career. Like, when I found out my wife was pregnant, that was it. I turned it on all cylinders. I got 7 jobs. I got TV, radio. I did everything I could to be responsible. It's not the case with all parents, but I had to do that, and it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing with that the experience I had, which was, oh fuck, I got to make a lot of money. I got to make money. Sure. It's got to be stable money. There's got to be money, and that is like something that happened for me, which is I never actually, because I think it didn't stop me from being a comedian, but it maybe stopped me a little bit from being an artist with a capital A, right? Because I used to be able to do a lot of work for the sake of the work. I didn't care about the money. Right. I didn't earn money on a lot. Of it,
that changes when you have
changes when you have a kid. Yeah.
You have somebody that's dependent on you. You can't choose.
Yeah, and again, there's cycles, right? So I feel like, I'm re-entering a phase where I need to do, I've been earning money now for like 5 years. That's great. Good for me. Good for my family. I did it. I put food on the table and money on the table. We don't use banks. And it's nice like that that I've been able to do that. But now my artistic itch, it makes me sound like such a fucking douche to say that. But anyways, the artistic itch has just been fucking revving up so hard in the last year. I can't take it anymore. And now I like had to sit down with my husband where I was like, are you ready for me to not make a lot of money? I'm gonna launch a project that I believe in, except for I don't know where the money is gonna come from. Hey. And he just was just like, yeah, I get it. You got to do it. I understand, so we'll just have to like figure it out. And so these are the things, it comes, it goes, there are cycles. You make money, you lose money. I will miss a performance of my daughters on, May 4th, because I'm going to be in San Francisco. I am already upset about it. I've already shed a tear about it. Like, it's going to happen, but it's like, these are the things that it's a give and a take. And I don't know. And the thing that Lily Allen said next, which is, there was like a piece in CNN that really wanted to point this out, that said if we were actually more about community and taking care of community, then maybe you could have it all.
Right.
So Jessica, is that a part of the take that you're not seeing in the every few months that you see this story?
I mean, look, like if we had affordable childcare in this country and a system, and she's not in this country, to be clear, things would be a lot easier for working parents. Yep. So like, yes, that it is impossible to talk about this issue without also talking about that.
Yep.
But would that solve it all? I don't know. I mean, you all are freelancers. I think like you have many jobs. Like I think it's such a different place to be in when you are driving the type of work that you get versus like working at a corporation where maybe they'll give you a good paternity or parental leave policy. Maybe they will offer certain perks, but probably, at least statistically, once you have a kid, your income's still likely to go down. But at least you have a steady place of work.
I will also just add, I mean, I did work at, well, several companies. I worked at SiriusXM and CNN at the same time, and Comedy Central, and I got all kinds of benefits. But I think that a lot of why those companies hired me is because I was a father. A lot of the content, a lot of the opinions that I've had for my entire time as a parent has been about being a dad, being a girl dad, all kinds of issues around, you know, parenting. And it goes into my work. I use my life as any, you know, person, comedian, journalist, creator does. I mean, now couples are making money, you know, on TikTok just dancing. So like you can use your life and it can be the income. And to a certain extent, me being a father changed my stand-up act, changed my point of view on all kinds of things, even on women and girls a little bit.
You can be a trad husband.
A trout husband?
A trad husband.
A traditional husband.
Trad, you know, like
have you not heard of the trad wife phenomena?
No. What does it mean if I am a trad husband?
It means you make content on TikTok about like cooking for your girls and baking pies and although I don't, I mean, that's what the trad wives do. But if you're a trad husband, are you doing like traditional masculine things?
Oh yeah,
like,
I just build stuff.
In the car.
You're hunting. You're You're hunting. Building. You're hunting. You're not gathering.
Taking out the trash.
It's weird that I hunt super vulnerable animals that don't move fast. That's my hook.
Folks, let me know, what do you think? Are you do you feel like that having children ruined Lily Allen's career? But again, I don't think the fun thing about all of this is Lily Allen will make another album and then she'll just have another career.
I think by the way, I mean, at least she's being honest. Yeah. I mean, at least she's not pretending that it's all fine. Like, I kind of respect being like, fuck this. Like, I love my kids, but it fucking ruined my life.
Yeah.
So I guess respect for the honesty.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's just also, it's impossible to put in the same kind of, when you're talking about arts careers, like it's impossible to put in the same kind of energy you did as a single person as a parent. It's just like nearly impossible.
We're just having the brain space for creativity. Like it does.
Yeah.
No, you're tired. I mean, you're tired. I remember, like, I was talking to some people that I work with who were sort of like disappointed in me about like not having a script earlier for a thing we were working on, blah, blah, blah. And they were just like, you know, you could write on airplanes. And I was like, can you write on airplanes after you've fucking taken care of your kid all day? You haven't slept in weeks and you're on your way to fucking Portland to do stand up on a red eye. Can you write on planes? You know what I mean? And I was just like, I can't explain to people the fatigue that's involved in this process. There is an incredible amount of fatigue.
I can't either. I did a really great thing by just being like unorganized and irresponsible. Not that my wife would have been any different because she's pretty focused and dialed in and responsible and healthy, but like she did all the hard stuff, everything. I mean, I did stuff. I changed diapers. I made meals. I obviously watched the kids, but like for hours at a time, she wasn't working and she had them on such a schedule. And like, I can't relate to those parents that they're so exhausted because I had this, I guess, traditional situation where at least one partner was like doing most of the work. I was Captain Fun. I was the entertainment for my girls growing up. And I will forever, you know, be grateful and appreciative of that. But also it's just worth mentioning that, sometimes the partnership works and such that you just prove to your partner you can't take care of the children, so they do it. No, but like when she'd come home, you're like, did you feed them? I'm like, we were playing, we were hanging out, we probably forgot. Did you leave anything prepared? What? What am I supposed to make?
Folks, that is the end of the show.
No.
I would love for the people of Fake the Nation to be able to follow you and all the wonderful things that you do. Pete Dominic, where do they do that?
LilyAllen.com. Check us out. It's my new show. My kids destroyed my career. I host a daily. I'm a little OCD about it. I put up a show every day with smart people, the smartest people I can find. And both of you have to join me. Jessica and Negin, it's really great to be here with you. But yeah, standupwithpete.com.
It's a great show. I've actually joined him before.
Let's do it soon.
Seems like he doesn't fucking remember at all. I've been on your show.
Again. I meant again. Did I not say again? Well, I had like a lot of Persians on last month.
Right. We all look the same to you. But yes, but definitely subscribe to the show. It's incredible. It's daily. It's like nonstop stuff you can listen to.
Impressive.
A daily yappings from Pete Dominic.
Daily yapping.
Jessica Bennett, where do they find you?
Where can you find me? I also have a podcast because everyone has a podcast now, and we all yap all day. I co-host a podcast called In Retrospect, so you can find me there. We look at pop culture moments from the 80s and 90s through the lens of today, and you can find my writing in the New York Times.
Like I said, we have literally talked about her writing from the New York Times on this very show. So that if that's not reason alone to follow Jessica, also recall that she has this podcast. The 80s and 90s are just ripe for culture chat. So I'm so excited for this podcast. It's going into season 2. So definitely subscribe to that. And folks, you know where to find me and all the things that I do. I have a piece out, my latest in Progressive Magazine. This time it's about AI. And I answer the question, how much should you be panicking about it? And I've come up with a sort of like a reasonable, moderate metric of panic that I think you'll enjoy and find maybe comforting. I don't know, hopefully. Otherwise, my dates are available at neginfarsad.com. And I want to thank everyone who makes the show a possibility. That's our wonderful producer, Andrew McGuire. Thanks to everyone at HeadGum for making this show a reality. Thanks to Gabi Alter for writing our theme music. If you have any questions or thoughts, you can email us at fakethenationpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to rate and review rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, because it really, really does help people find the show, and that's a whole thing. And again, if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/Negin Farsad. That's it for us. We will be back in your earballs next week.